I've also heard, by the way, a Black Hawk parent. A Black Hawk parent is even more micromanaging their student than a helicopter parent. But as I said, this is 4 years where you as the student or you as the parent get to allow your student to make mistakes in a relatively safe environment so that they learn to become independent people when they graduate. Because if they aren't different when they get out than when they came in, then all of us have failed to do our job, including the student. So I'm encouraging the parents to allow the student to take responsibility for his or her Bursar account and for his or her financial aid. There's an awful lot to learn, but that's what helps to make them great adults when they get out and into the working world. Likewise, students, this is the time for you to drive the bus a little bit and tell your parents, I'm going to be responsible for my bill. I will make sure that you have access to the bill, and we will talk about the bill and how it's going to get paid. They don't necessarily have to do everything for you. You have the opportunity, as I said, to drive the bus, to be proactive in telling them what is due, when it's due, how things operate. I see and hear often parents calling our office because they aren't communicating with their student, or they say their student is too busy. Well, that's real life. And what I hope is that you'll use these 4 years to learn how real life works, so that when the transition takes place into the working world, there's less of a learning curve. The learning curve won't be so steep. So let's talk about FERPA. FERPA is a great acronym. It stands for the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. As a college student, you as the student, no matter your age, if you're 16, 17, or 18, as soon as you step foot on campus in August, you have rights to your privacy. And that includes your Bursar account. There are 2 things that the student needs to do in order to allow others to have access to that information. The first is to go to the Bursar's website, which is xavier.edu/Bursar, B-U-R-S-A-R. And on the left side, there's a link called Forms. And inside that link is a PDF called FERPA. You can print out that form, and the student should complete Part A, which gives anybody they list in Part A rights to their financial information if they were to call up, stop in, or shoot an email to us. If you, the student, choose not to do that, then the parent can complete Part B and supply the university with a copy of their tax return showing that the student is a dependent, and we will give the information to the parent anyway. So it's really in your best interest as a student to be proactive, complete Part A if you want to give access to your parents or to a grandparent or to somebody else access to your Bursar financial information. There's also the second thing is to go onto the website, and this is something I was going to talk about a little bit later, but I'll talk about it now, and that's, I know you have access to the Road to Xavier, but you should also have access right now to the Student Hub. And I would encourage you to get into the Student Hub as often as you can so you learn your way around it. To get into the Student Hub to the Bursar page, once you're into the Student Hub, you want to click the icon that says Pay Bill. And that will give you, the student, access to the balance on your account, to transactions that have taken place on your account since your last bill was published. It'll give you the opportunity to enroll in or look at your payment plan. It will give you the ability to look at your electronic bill, and it will allow you to set up authorized users. So just like the FERPA form I just talked about, you can also set up anybody you want as an authorized user. The authorized user, you would enter the person's name, their email address, send it off to them. They will get a notice that they have a link to follow. They'll get a temporary password. They'll have their username, and they get to log into that same page using their own credentials. And you, as the student, do not have to compromise your username and password. This is about you taking responsibility for your account and allow your parents or guardians or grandparents take responsibility for accessing your account through their username and password credentials. So FERPA, authorized user, two great things to have already done before you even arrive here. If a parent or anybody else were to call up to ask for information on a student's account and we don't have those, then they won't get the information, and we're going to encourage that caller to talk directly to you, the student. I want to talk about bills now. We bill every single month, and if you graduate from Xavier and you get a car loan, you're going to have a monthly payment. You might have rent every single month, utilities every single month. So we do exactly the same thing. We bill on the 15th of every month, or the last business day prior to the 15th, if the 15th happens to fall on a weekend or a holiday. And the due date is about 2 weeks later on the 1st of the month. So on July 15th, coming up this week on Wednesday, a bill will be published. When Bob in my office publishes a bill, an email will go out to your Xavier email address, which is our primary communication channel. That is the official communication channel of the university, is your Xavier email address. So this email is going to go out to you, the student, saying a bill has now been published and you can go and view it. If you have signed up somebody to be an authorized user already, they'll get the same email so that they can log in with their username and password and see the balance, see the payment since the last bill, see the payment plan, see the bill itself, and that's also the same place where you can make online payments. So as I said, the due date is the 1st of the following month. We have a late fee that's assessed on the 14th of the following month. So if you can picture this, July 15th, the bill is published. August 1st, the payment is due. August 14th, a late fee is assessed. August 15th, we publish another bill. It's due September 1st, and a late fee September 14th if you haven't made your payment. So that is the routine, and that's what we follow every single month. When it comes to payments, online payments are what we prefer. We will accept checks by mail. If you come into the office, we will take checks or cash. But online payments, you can do a check, online check. It's called an e-check or an electronic check. It just really requires the routing number and account number of the person's checking account. And there's no additional cost for paying online that way. The online website is very secure and it's very easy to do. The second way to pay online is by credit card. We accept American Express, Discover, MasterCard, and Visa. There's a 2.75% convenience fee that is charged as well. So there'll be two line items on the person's credit card statement. It'll be the convenience fee as well as whatever was charged. And as I say, that's at a 2.75% fee. So let me explain how this works a little bit. And for those of you, if this is your first rodeo when it comes to sending a student to college, this might be informative. If it's your second or third student, you might be bored by this, but I'll try and keep it as lively as possible anyway.
We appreciate it, Henry.
Yeah. So the student has hopefully already signed up for classes. Bob in my office has assessed those charges onto your Bursar account already. They've been able to be seen since I think the 23rd or 24th of June. Yep. And those fees bring the balance from 0 up to whatever the charges are. Now, if you happen to be a financial aid recipient, because you filed the FAFSA and you get loans and scholarships and awards and grants, those credits or payments aren't on your account yet, but they will be, and we can see them. So any financial aid that we know about, we're going to be able to see in the Bursar's office, and we take that into consideration when we take a look at your account. So you have charges and you have financial aid. So now, if it were like this, that'd be pretty sweet, because then there would be nothing more to pay. Financial aid would pay for the charges. But if the financial aid is down here, then there's a gap right here that needs to be paid. That gap can be paid through the payment plan that we have. We have two payment plans. One is really an official plan, and the other one is sort of a default plan. I'll talk about the default plan first. The default plan really is a payment in full plan, if you want to call it that. It just means that when you get your bill, when a bill is published and you go and you take a look at it and you check all the charges and you check the financial aid and everything looks good and you want to pay in full, you do an electronic check, you do a credit card online, or you send in a check, or you come in and you pay in cash. Whatever you want to do, it's a one-time payment for that particular month. Now, you have to be careful on the pay in full plan because every month we bill. We send out a bill. We publish a bill every month. So some students and parents think that, well, if I paid in full August 1st, then I'm done for the semester. That might be true, but it might not be true. Say, for instance, the student gets a library fine, goes to the health center and has a strep throat, so they get a test done, and that charge comes onto the Bursar account. If they have a car on campus and they get 55 parking citations, which wouldn't happen, but if they get one, it happened to Evan, but it didn't happen to anybody else that I know of, right? So these parking fines, these miscellaneous charges will go onto the student's account, just like any credit card we might have in our wallet. We get a bill, any other charges, we go out and our behavior dictates what goes onto that statement. So somebody parks in the wrong place, somebody doesn't return a library, somebody goes to the health center and gets a health test of some sort. Those go onto the Bursar account. The next bill that's published, even though you're on the pay in full plan, you should look at the bill to see if there's a balance. If there's a balance, then that should be paid in full every month. So look at the bill every single month, and if there's a balance due, pay that in full every month by the following first of the month, and that'll be awesome. There'll be no late fees, and that is how the pay in full plan works. The other plan is called the XFlex payment plan. It is a 4-payment plan that runs August 1st, September, October, and November 1st. The same thing happens for the spring semester. The bill will be published around December 15th, and the first payment will be due January 1st, February, March, and April. There's a $50 enrollment fee to get into the payment plan, the XFlex plan, every semester. If you enroll in the XFlex plan, pay your $50 to get into it, this gap that I talked about will be divided in 4 pieces, and you will be able to see on your payment plan the schedule of when the payments are due and how much. Now keep in mind, if additional charges come on or if charges come off, that payment will adjust accordingly. So it's not going to be static. You want to take a look at the schedule each month before you make your payment to make sure that you're paying the right amount. So that's how the payment plan works. Again, $50 to get into it each semester. It takes whatever the gap is and divides it by 4. Or let's say you don't get any financial aid whatsoever, and what's due is this, but you want to put it on a payment plan. It'll still take whatever the balance is divided by 4, and you make your monthly payments accordingly. There was something else I wanted to, I know what I was going to say about the payment plan. There's a $50 enrollment fee, but if you make your payments on time, on the 1st of every month and no later than the 13th of every month, or whatever the day is prior to when late charges are assessed, then the only thing it really costs you is the $50 enrollment fee. One of the, I guess, passions I have is to try and help students graduate with as little debt as possible, with as little out-of-pocket expense as possible. And if students pay attention to due dates and late charges when they get assessed, and they do everything they can not to get a late charge, you're saving yourself money. And that, to me, is not only a great thing to save yourself money, but it's also a great way to build responsibility, to deepen your character, so that when you get out into the real world and you've got a job, the bills that you're going to get should be paid on time so that you preserve your credit rating, so that you save money and you're not paying late fees. Next, I talked about this, charges, financial aid, and this gap. This is what's due. What happens if it's like this? So financial aid exceeds the charges. Now we have this kind of gap. This might be called the happy gap, because this is an overpayment on your Bursar account. And this is when you will get a refund. Every single week, we process overpayments on accounts. We want the Bursar account balance to be at zero as many times as possible. So if there's an overpayment, we're going to pay back to our customer the overage. This overage is handled through Hire One. So you may have gotten, or you may still get this summer, a bright green envelope from Hire One. Hire One sends out to you as a registered student a debit MasterCard. Now keep in mind I said the word debit. It's not a credit card and it's not a solicitation for credit. It is a debit MasterCard. And that card is used to get into the Hire One website in order to make a selection on how you want to get this overpayment back into your pocket. So here are the charges, and here's the overpayment. You go into the Hire One website when you get the debit card, and you can pick, I want to have a check sent to me. Well, that could take 5 to 7, maybe 10 days for you to get. You could say, I want to have the refund electronically transferred from Hire One into an existing checking or savings account that I already have. That would be my recommendation. The last thing I think anybody needs is yet another checking or savings account. Or you can say, I want to open up a checking account with Hire One. Now, Hire One is a building-less bank. They don't have any brick and mortar. They do not have branches to go to. But you can open up a checking account with them. So this overage would go straight into the one account, they call it. If you want to get money out of the one account, you use the debit MasterCard that's associated with it that you get in the mail. So you can use it to any place that accepts MasterCard. You can use that. You can also use it in the ATM that we have here on campus that is associated specifically with Hire One. And you can pull money out up to $500 a day as long as you have that in that checking account. Again, I would encourage you, if you already have a checking account, use the electronic funds transfer to have that money go straight into your existing account. That might take 1 to 2 days to get. So picture this. Tuesday comes up. Our system will look backwards a week and say, let's take a look at all the accounts that have a credit balance, which is this scenario. And on Wednesday, we will send the money to Hire One and the names of everybody who gets the refund. And that will bring the person's account balance in the Bursar account to 0. And the money will, between 1 and 10 days, go out to the student, whether it's by check, electronic funds transfer, or by opening up the one account. I hope that's not clear as mud. I hope it's crystal clear how the refund process works. If, for instance, we've already pulled the report to take a look at who has a credit balance on Tuesday, and then Tuesday afternoon, a loan goes on, and all of a sudden you have a credit balance, you'll probably miss that week's refund process, but it'll happen the following week. So that's how the refund process works. Oh, word of caution, we send this overpayment back to our customer. Now, our customer happens to be the student. So moms and dads and students, if the parent overpays by accident your Bursar account by $1,000 and you have it electronically set up to go into your own checking account, you might want to make sure that that $1,000 goes back to your parents. That's going to be a conversation you have with your parents about that. So parents don't, you can if you want to. I've had parents say, Well, can we put our checking account, mom's and dad's checking account, as the electronic funds transfer account to receive the refund? Absolutely. But I say, why would you want to do that? Because that goes against what I think you're trying to do, which is to build independent men and women. Allow them to manage the money. If the money goes into your account, then you're again being that helicopter parent, taking away responsibility from them. And as much as they're going to be studying on campus, they're going to have a social life, and it's good for them to have responsibility. Students, it is great for you to have responsibility as you go through these 4 years. I love it when a student comes in and says, I want to talk to somebody because I want to talk about my account. We love parents too, and I know it's a partnership, but parents, I encourage you to support your student by allowing them to come in and talk to us or work through whatever issue there might be. Nothing takes place in the Bursar's office or in the financial aid office or any office that I know of here on campus that can't be fixed with good communication. And when the student does it, man, that's a win-win-win all over the place. One thing I want to point out is already, if you're a full-time student, meaning that you have 12 or more credit hours already set up for your schedule, you're going to get an insurance charge. The Board of Trustees say that every student, undergrad student, has to have a major medical health insurance plan. And so Xavier goes ahead and puts a premium onto your account. Xavier works with Aetna Health Insurance, and that premium this year is $2,140. And that is for the entire year. I think the policy runs from August 14th or 15th of this year to August 13th or 14th of next year. If the student is already covered under a major medical health insurance plan, which is usually the case, the student can go online and waive that insurance. And the way to waive that is you can go online to the McGrath Health Center website and follow the link there. You, the student, can log into the Student Hub at xavier.edu/students and click on Pay Bill and enter your username and login. And when you get in there, that's going to be what's called the e-payment site I talked about earlier, where you can look at your bill, you can enroll in the payment plan, you can make online payments. And if you read the information above the balance, you're going to see the link to the insurance waiver. That's really important to do sooner rather than later. It takes about 48 hours or less to get that $2,140 off of your account. And if you're signing up for the payment plan or if you're paying in full, why would you want to pay $2,140 if you didn't have to, if you're paying in full? Or when you sign up for the payment plan, if you sign up for the payment plan and it says the monthly payment is $4,000 a month, as soon as you waive that $2,140, that's going to automatically adjust your monthly payments downward. So do that. It's really important. Don't wait till you get to campus. Do it before you get too busy here with schoolwork, etc. I want to talk about 529 plans. 529 plans, for those of you who don't know, is a tax-deferred way that parents in particular can set aside money for education. We want to have the payments come directly to us versus having it go to you, the plan holder. And the way that you get the 529 payments to us, you contact your plan and you tell your plan, I want to have X amount of dollars or X amount of credits that equal X amount of dollars to be sent to Xavier University. Here's the student's name. Here's the student's ID number, that 9-digit ID number that starts with 3 zeros. That's very important for us to have so that it comes to us and it gets posted to the right place. The 529 plans can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks to get the payment to us. So I say start tomorrow. If you haven't done a 529 payment yet, you can still go online to the e-payment site. You can click on the link that says charges since my last bill. And of course, you probably haven't had a bill yet, but you'll be able to see sort of a pre-bill because we'll publish the bill on Wednesday. And you will know then what that nut is to crack, and you'll know then how much 529 money to send us. Some people, if they have a balance due of $6,000, they might do 3,000 out of a 529 and 3,000 on a payment plan. Whatever you need to do, whatever ingredients you need to bring together in order to get that balance paid for, that's the way to do it. And that's how we manage the 529 payments. Outside scholarships. Sometimes you've got a PTA, you've got Boy Scouts, you've got Kiwanis, you've got a community foundation. All these people want to give you money, which is really a great thing. We call those outside scholarships because they are outside Xavier University. I told you that we know what the financial aid is if it is Xavier financial aid. Loans, Stafford loans, subsidized, unsubsidized loans, Pell Grant, SEOG, different types of scholarships, presidential scholarship. We know all about these grants and Xavier money. What we don't know is about the PTA, Kiwanis, Boy Scouts, etc. So if you have a letter that says you've been awarded a certain amount of money for the fall semester and or for the spring semester, if you haven't sent a copy of that letter to the Bursar's office, please do that. And what we'll do is we will put a note on your account that this money is going to be forthcoming. Now, some organizations have in their letter, it says, Tom is the recipient of a $1,000 scholarship. Please apply $500 to the fall semester and $500 to the spring semester. But they only include one check for $1,000. And we can't tear the check in half and put half of it for fall and half for spring, so we apply it all to the fall semester. It's either get the benefit now or get the benefit later. We'd rather just take care of it now. So that's how we handle fall and spring outside scholarships if they send one check. Some will say, we're going to send you 500 now and 500 in the spring. That's fine too. We'll just process the checks as they come in. If you happen to have an outside scholarship check sitting on your desk or on the kitchen counter, and it's made payable to you and Xavier University, you want to go ahead and endorse that check as the student and send it in to us. And if you have the letter that goes along with it, just send a copy of that. That would be great. And when that check comes in, we will go ahead and endorse the other half of it, and we will process that onto your account. If you want to bring that in when you arrive on campus, you can do that as well. There's something on your financial aid award letter if you happen to be a financial aid award recipient. Some of you may have something called federal work study. Now, federal work study is money that is set aside for students who work on campus. I think it's Monday of when school starts. It might be Tuesday, but I think it's the Monday, the first day of school. There is a job fair at the Cintas Center. And you would dress nicely as a student, and you would bring your resume, and you would go to the various tables, which are being manned by offices, staff from certain offices, and the Bursar's office has a table there. We hire student workers, as does financial aid, the registrar. A lot of different places on campus do that. If you get a job and you're a federal work study recipient, then your money will be paid from federal work study, and that's a great thing. Keep in mind though, and parents, you might want to listen really sharp to this, the student has to apply for the job, get the job, work the hours, and then get the paycheck. That sounds a lot like reality. So it's no different after you graduate than as it's going to be here. Some students have said, well, why can't you give me my federal work study now? It's on my financial aid award letter. Well, you haven't applied for the job, you haven't worked the hours, you haven't gotten the paycheck. That's no different than saying, well, I know that there's a great job out there for $100,000 for me a year. Why can't they just go ahead and pay me now, and I'll find the job sooner or later, but I'll get there and I'll work those hours. It doesn't work that way. So we don't count federal work study in the calculation of how much is due or how much is going to be overpaid. We don't take that into consideration, because when a student gets paid their federal work study check, what are the odds of that federal work-study check being deposited into the student's bank, and then the student coming into the Bursar's office and saying, I want to give you my check or part of my check to help pay down my Bursar account? It doesn't happen very often. However, if a student were to do that, I got to tell you, that is depth of character. That is somebody who is taking responsibility. And if you were to tell your parents that you did that, whew, that'd be amazing. That is that growth I talked about from 18 to 22. You change, hopefully, when you get to be 22. Hopefully today at 17 or 18, you're not the same as you were when you were 12 or 13. I hope. So, please, use your federal work-study just like a paycheck, and some of it, save it. Some of it, have some social life, buy a pizza, do something, go bowling. Some of it, apply to your Bursar account. And some of it, maybe send to your parents because they've invested an awful lot in you. Or buy them a birthday gift. Don't forget them on their birthday. If you also have federal loans, it might be a Parent Plus loan, it might be an unsubsidized loan, it might be a subsidized loan. If you see on your financial aid award letter a $1,000 loan, the amount that's going to be dispersed is going to be different. In very small print at the bottom of the financial aid award letter, typically is a calculation or tells you what percentage the Department of Education withholds for origination fees. So on a $1,000 loan, the amount that's going to be dispersed is going to be $990. So for you accountants out there and attorneys and those people who really focus in on the details, you want to be careful. Don't call us up and say, hey, where's the $1,000 that my son got or my daughter got? It's really going to be $990. The devil is in the details, so to speak. It's that fine print and reading information. I can't stress that enough. Everything that I'm talking about tonight is on the Bursar's website, or it's on the financial aid website. And under the frequently asked questions link on the Bursar's website, which is xavier.edu/Bursar, like I said earlier, almost all of the questions that I think have ever been asked are on that website. The answers and the questions are there. So if you need a refresher, always go there and take a look to see if you can find the answer. So we talked about, so the fees on loans, if the loan is $2,750, a little bit more is going to be taken out. So don't count exactly on the $2,750 for a loan, or on the financial aid office, for instance. They'll talk about a $5,000 scholarship you might get. Financial aid usually talks in terms of an academic year. The Bursar's office talks in terms of a semester. So a $5,000 loan or grant or scholarship is really going to be a $2,500 loan, grant, or scholarship. And if it's a loan, it might be even a little bit less than that after those fees are withheld. So make sure that you know what you're talking about in the way of semesters versus an academic year. One of the things that I did with my sons, because as I said, they went to 3 different colleges in 3 different states. I wasn't working here at the time. They got loans. Some of them were subsidized loans and some were unsubsidized loans. And the subsidized loans are loans where the government pays the interest while the student is in school. The unsubsidized loan is a loan where the government does not pay the interest while the student is in school. So my kids had some unsubsidized loans. And what happened back in that day is we received in the mail, while our kids were at school, a letter from the Department of Education. And when I opened it up, it said across it, this is not a bill. But it showed I got them 3 times, one for each individual son. It showed the loan that they had, how much interest had accrued over the 90 days. I think it was quarterly at the time that I received these, and what the balance now was. So this might be $200, $220, $230. It just depended on the number of days in the month, but it would show me how much interest had accrued. And it was addressed to my sons, and I had an agreement with my sons that if mail came in and it looked like it was from the Department of Education, because that's what the return was, I always respected their privacy and always communicated with them and respected their business. I would open it up and then I would say, how do you want to handle this? Because this not a bill statement had a stub attached to it. And sometimes they would say, well, why don't you let me pay for it? Because they had jobs on campus. Or maybe you can pay it, Dad, because I'm short on cash. Or let's partner and you pay half and I'll pay half. Again, that's developing their character, getting them used to what a bill looks like, getting them used to using a checking account, getting them used to paying a bill and paying it on time. And it also eliminated the fact that when they got out in 4 years, 8 semesters later, they were paying back principal only and not accrued interest. So as interest accrues, if it probably comes out by email now from the Department of Education, just giving you a notice, interest has accrued on this unsubsidized loan. Pay the interest as you go if you can. Sometimes it's a lot easier to come up with a couple of $100 than it is even more money to try and pay off all this debt. Because again, the mission here is to have you graduate with as little debt as possible. And I have seen some horrible stories about students who graduate with a lot of debt because they don't pay attention from the get-go. They don't pay attention to the sacrifice that parents are making, the sacrifice that they need to make for these years in order to get their education. It's an investment. And this refund money you might get isn't called party money. It's called, let me save it for my next semester. I've seen students do it successfully. Another thing, and then we'll open it up for questions, and that is, Sally Mae told me that there might be a way that you can get a discount on your car insurance. Because I was talking to this guy I know who works at Sally Mae, and I said, what other ways can we help students to spend less while they're at college? And he told me that some students who bring a car to college, or they don't bring a car to college, parents, you can call your insurance company and say, my student's going to be away at college, they're going to have a car or they aren't going to have a car, and is there a way that I can get a reduction in my premium for auto insurance while my student is away? So that's just a random thought out there to try and help you pay less on your insurance every month. Read, read, read. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to teach yourself. Do that now before you start school. When you do get to school, balance your social life with your academics. Make sure you're hanging out with other students who are going to encourage you, who are going to build into you, who you can build into. Sometimes you're going to be pulling them along and encouraging them, and sometimes they're going to be pulling you along and encouraging you. So get with the right people. If you know you need to study, but somebody is saying, hey, come on, let's go out and party, and this is your first time away from home, be able to say no. Be able to say no. People will learn to respect you, and they will know that you're a man or a woman of your word. Don't do something that you don't really want to do. If you know that you need to study, then by golly, study. That's what you need to do. It's awesome. If you need to socialize, then you socialize. Work that balance out. That's what adults do all the time. Just don't throw chairs or things like that, which Evan probably did, didn't you, Evan, when you were doing your undergrad? Yeah, you're that kind of guy, I know. Sarah would never do that. Never.
She paid a real on time.
On time. Yeah, you're a whole different story, buddy.
That would have been your favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about it. I hope it was helpful, and we'll take questions.
Okay, sounds good. So we will start with questions. We have a few people who've asked questions. If you have questions and haven't typed them in yet, please do so. So we will start with Terrence's question. He asked about late fees. So he says, how are late fees calculated? Is it a flat rate or a percentage of the balance?
Great question, thank you. Late fees are calculated on the amount that is past due and unpaid. So I'll give you a scenario. You sign up for the 4-payment plan and you make the first payment on time, that's great. Second payment you make after the late fee has been assessed. So that's after the 14th of the month or the last business day before the 14th. We're going to charge you 1% interest, 1% as a late fee on the amount that is not paid and past due. So that's this payment right here that we're going to charge you on. If you're late on this payment, we're going to charge you 1% on just this amount. So no matter what payment you're late on, we're going to charge you 1% on that amount. Now think about this from the standpoint of payment in full. If you have a 4-payment plan and it's $1,000 a month and you miss one payment, you're going to be charged 1% on the $1,000. But if your balance is $4,000 and you're on the payment in full plan and you don't pay because you never enrolled in the payment plan, then we're going to charge you 1% on the $4,000. So there can be a big difference there. Terrence, if that doesn't explain it, you can always check out the website, xavier.edu/Bursar, frequently asked questions, but also you can type back in and say, give me a little bit more detail. I'm happy to do that.
Alrighty, so the next question is, your aid covers all charges, which is incredible. Then you can expect to see what on your eBill?
If your aid exceeds all charges, you will see on the July and the August eBill. Let me stop here for just a second. The financial aid office cannot disperse your financial aid until 10 days or less prior to the start of school. That's a federal regulation. So this particular year, I'm just pulling up my camera or my calendar here. In August, the financial aid office, and school starts on the 24th of August, a Monday, the financial aid office will disperse financial aid on the 21st of August, which is a Friday. And if you think about how our refund process works, the financial aid office puts it in on Friday, school starts on Monday the 24th, and we process refunds on the 26th, and you'll probably have any overpayment by the 28th. So that's how this would work. On your bill, as I say, for July and August, we know what your financial aid is if it's internal to Xavier. We don't know what the external is, the outside scholarships or alternative loans, but we know what your internal stuff is. And if it exceeds, or if it doesn't exceed, for the July and August, you're going to see expected, or it might say authorized or future financial aid. I don't know the exact term on it, but you'll be able to distinguish it on the eBill. It's going to say something like future credits, future financial aid, authorized financial aid, and you'll be able to see the charges for tuition, fees, room, board, if you happen to be living on campus, or you have a meal plan. And then you're going to see this future financial aid, this authorized financial aid. And then you're going to see a balance due, or you're going to see a credit balance. Anything in parentheses means a credit. So if you happen to be one of those who waives the insurance before we publish the bill, you're going to see a charge of $21.40 on your account, and you're going to see a credit in parentheses of $21.40. And those two things just knock each other out and nets out to zero. So if you have a credit balance, it'll be in parentheses on your bill. If you don't have a credit balance, that means you're going to get a refund as it stands at that point. If you don't have a credit balance, that means you have a balance due. You get to decide to sign up for the payment plan or pay in full. So look for that future authorized. I was going to say after the August bill, once they, which would be August 14th is when we'll publish the August bill, which means late charges will be assessed August 13th, a Thursday, if that August 1st payment isn't made on time. Once the money disperses on the 21st, the September 15th bill won't have that future authorized aid or future financial aid, because we're then running real time. We're into school, and if you get a loan, it's going to disperse right away to your account, and you'll see it on your bill. It's just the first two bills where we try and predict what your balance is going to be based on the financial aid.
Okay. Our next question is about XFlex payment plan. And it says, is it too late to do the XFlex payment plan, and which plan is better?
It's not too late to do the XFlex payment plan. This is the perfect time to sign up for the XFlex payment plan. When you go into the e-payment site through the Student Hub and the Pay Bill icon, you can, on the right-hand side, enroll in the XFlex payment plan. As I say, you'll be charged a $50 enrollment fee, but it will take whatever your balance is right now and divide it by 4. So this is the best time to do it. If you wait, and let's say you make a payment now towards your balance, it's going to reduce your balance, but that payment isn't going to go towards any payment plan. It's just going to reduce your balance. So when you do decide to enroll in the plan, it'll take whatever the remaining balance is and divide it by 4. So don't expect any payments that you make now before you sign up for the payment plan to go towards satisfying a payment. All it's going to do is reduce the balance. If you sign up, if you do the payment in full plan, then you're just going to pay whatever the balance is. You asked me which one's better. It depends. If you have the cash flow, if you have the money in the bank, and you have the money to pay your balance in full, pay your balance in full. Save yourself $50. Don't sign up for the payment plan. But if your cash flow is such that you can afford to make monthly payments, you just don't have a lump sum, then sign up for the payment plan. It'll be a good $50 well spent.
On that same note, this other question, is it possible to do one, not the other per semester? So for example, first semester, not do the plan, second semester, do the plan?
Yes, you can do the, I mentioned earlier, there's a $50 enrollment fee each semester to get into the payment plan. So the payment plans run by semester. They are semester-based plans. So it runs August through November 1st, and then it goes away. It runs January through April, and then it goes away. So there is no continuity from one semester to the next. You have to enroll into each semester plan each semester. Was that the question you had on that, Evan?
Yes, if it's possible to separate it. So for 1 year,
you can sign up for the fall semester for payment plan, and then pay in full for the spring semester. So that payment would be due January 1st. So no problem there. That's easy to do, or flip-flop it. Pay in full for the fall and do a 4-payment plan in the spring. If you're on the 4-payment plan, you can always pay it off early without any penalty. You can do that. I just really encourage you, if you're on that plan or on the pay in full, just don't be late. I don't want to collect late fees. I don't like doing that. It's just, it's unnecessary most of the time. A lot of times it's somebody just not paying attention, letting time get away, slip away, and it went over. The way we look at late fees is if Xavier messed up, if the Bursar's office, financial aid office, if Evan messed up and you got a late fee, then we'll waive the late fee. If you messed up because you didn't look at the bill, because you let the due date slip by, you let the late charge get assessed, then you pay the late fee. And if there's shared responsibility because Evan mostly messed up and maybe you messed up, then we can split it in half. Again, it's about taking on responsibility. I'll carry the responsibility for the university in this. Evan will carry, half the responsibility, and he'll try and blame me for everything. But also I would ask you to carry your responsibility in that area.
All right.
So our next question is from Lauren, and she asks, if you waived the health insurance, will the full amount be deducted from your first semester bill?
The answer is yes. If you have waived it already, you can go in, as I say, you can go into the Student Hub right now and click on Pay Bill and log in and click on the link that's right below your balance that says View Transactions since the last eBill. And when you click on that, you'll see a charge for $21.40. If you've already waived it 48 hours or more ago, you'll see a credit there as well. That'll be in parentheses. If you just waived it tonight and you go to look at that link, you won't see the credit. You'll just see the charge for $21.40. But keep your eye on it, and it will show up in the next 48 hours or less.
All right, next question. Do you accept bill pay or PayPal?
Do we accept bill pay or PayPal? All payments for credit card are done online through the e-payment site. That is not a PayPal account. It's handled through CashNet, which is also owned by Hire One, and they manage our payment gateway. So you can't, I don't know that much about PayPal, but if you go into the e-payment site and you click on Make a Payment and you pay by credit card, that's going to go through our payment gateway, CashNet's payment gateway. PayPal isn't involved in that at all. You talked about bill pay. Think of it this way. I'm a former banker. I had 17 years in banking. And if you go online through the e-payment site and you say, click here to make a payment, and you enter your routing number and your checking account number, we're going to go out and we're going to take the money from your account and post it to your Bursar account right away. That's the most expeditious way to make a payment. Parents and students who use bill pay, it's different. They go online and they say, I want you to pay X amount of dollars to Xavier University. Well, here's what the bank does. The bank pulls the money out of your account right away, and they're investing it behind the scenes. They're generating a check just like you would if you were to write a check and drop it in the mail. That's what they're doing, is they're printing a check and sending it in the mail to us, which can take up to 7 days or so for us to get. But in that 7 days or so, they're using your money. If you write a check and you mail it off, you're using your money. You tell them to write a check and mail it off, they're going to pull the money right out and they're going to mail the check. I had one parent call me last year who said, I don't see the payment posted to my son's account. And I said, well, how did you pay? They said, well, I went online, told my bank to send a check to Xavier through bill pay. And it's been deducted from my checking account, but I don't see that it's been posted to my son's account. Well, that's because of the bank, because they're smart. They're going to pull the money right out of your account right away and invest it. If you think about it, they're doing this to millions of people. They're pulling the money out right away, so the parents saw the money gone from their checking account. But this was only the second day since she had ordered the check to be mailed. So their bank was still in the process of either printing the check or having it mailed to us. And 7 or 10 days later, it came into us. And finally, she saw that, yes, it came out of her account, and yes, it got posted to her son's account. Hope that makes sense. It's called float. And I prefer to have your money work for you. And if you can avoid the float, having the bank use your money, that's great. If you want to pay us the day before late fees are assessed, and you do it through the e-payment site that'll post to your Bursar account right away, we're cool.
Okay. So our next question is from Joy. She asks, how do private loans get applied to the student's account? And then will half of the loan amount be applied to the first semester and then the balance be refunded and the student responsible to apply it in the spring?
Great question, Joy. I love that question. because it gives the appearance that you will be able to take on responsibility, but it doesn't work that way in this particular case. So again, I'm not the financial aid office, but I know a little bit about alternative loans. These are loans that are not handled through the FAFSA, because those are federal, Stafford, unsubsidized, and subsidized loans. This is a loan that you might go to Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae has alternative loans. Typically, it'll be in the name of the student, but you need to have a credit-worthy cosigner. And I will say for Parent Plus loans and for alternative loans, you want to do exactly what the subsidized and unsubsidized loans do. They do it for the whole academic year. So if in the fall semester you have a shortfall of $2,000, you want to take out a loan of $4,000. But you want to check to see if they withhold any administrative fees in this alternative loan that you might get from Sallie Mae or from your bank. If they do withhold fees, then you want to maybe take out a loan for $4,100. Whatever it is, and those companies will connect with Xavier University Financial Aid, and Xavier University Financial Aid will be able to see then that you have an alternative loan coming, and the lender will electronically transfer $2,000 into your account through our financial aid office for the fall semester and $2,000 for spring. So they will not dump all $4,000 onto your account or whatever the amount is for the fall, have you overpaid, let you get the money back in hopes that you're going to pay us back in the spring semester. Banks tend to know 18-year-olds pretty well, and they're still learning how to be responsible, many of them, not all of them, for their money. So to answer that question, the alternative loan lender knows to disperse half in the fall, half in the spring, and you want to make sure that whether it's a plus loan or an alternative loan, because the plus loan people know to do the same, they disperse half in the fall, half in the spring, you want to make sure that you're going to borrow enough to cover both semesters. Otherwise, you've got to go back to the well and ask for more money at some point in time. Did that answer the question?
Yes. And there was another question that's similar to that. You touched on it very, very well. But I just want to make sure the second half of this question was answered. It said, do you recommend applying for a private loan for the full year or per semester?
If you, again, this goes back to what your personal finances are like. If you filed the FAFSA, that's what I would do first, and make sure you get the unsub and subsidized loan and any other money that the financial aid office can give you. That's the first way to go if you can't pay for everything out of your pocket. So do that first. The alternative loan, I would apply for the whole calendar year. You can always tell the whole academic year, I should say. You can always tell the financial aid office, no, I don't want all of that money. Send it back to the lender. So go for the whole academic year, not on a per semester basis, unless you know for sure that your second semester is going to be covered by some other means and you don't need to have the loan. If that's a for sure thing, just do it for the one semester. This brings up another point. If you have loans in excess, for instance, this situation here where loans have exceeded your charges, some parents do this on purpose. They'll get a Parent Plus loan to overpay the student's account so the student gets a refund, and or the student will take out enough loans to overpay the account so that they can buy books, because books can run $700 to $1,000 maybe a semester. Just depends. You can also rent books. So if you don't need the extra money, don't take it. You can always tell the financial aid office, I don't want this money, or I only want 1,000 of it. I don't want the $2,750 of it. The financial aid office works on something called passive acceptance, active denial. So they will automatically assume that you want to accept it. So that's passive acceptance. You don't have to do anything other than sign your master promissory note online and go through your entrance counseling online to get your financial aid money. they will automatically give it to you the next semester as well. That's active acceptance, unless you actively tell them you want to deny some of it or all of it. So borrow only what you need. Don't borrow money for things that you don't need. Again, you want to be able to look beyond just this semester, just beyond this first year, and say, I've got 8 semesters to manage my money and to manage my debt. You want to graduate at 22 or whenever that is at 21, and you want to have as little debt as possible, because debt can bury students and bury parents as well. And you want to do all that you can to not have that kind of debt. Did that answer all that, Evan?
So our next question is there any chance that you can ballpark the odds of a non-work study student getting an on-campus job? And if you can't speak to this, we can.
You're on. I can give an estimate, because there are tons of jobs available on campus. Non-federal work study, I'll say what I know. It's about held in a thimble, and then you guys can say the rest. There are non-federal work study jobs available, so you want to go to the job fair for that as well. You can get jobs at the Saas Center for setup and tear down. You can get jobs at the CAF through Chartwells, because they're hiring servers and table bussers, and I don't know what other positions they have available there. But there are other places on campus that hire non-federal work study people. Library, maybe.
Typically, the rule of thumb is almost anything run through the university itself is going to be work study, and then anything not run directly through the university you can apply for. There are a number of different restaurants, mostly food places, Saas, as he was talking about, and then there are a few places that you can put in an application, and if they need people, you can volunteer and then eventually become a full-time. One of the best places is our office, so you can work as a student worker or volunteer in the admissions office. But just ask around, show up at job fair, ask questions. The more you're involved, the more you ask questions, the more likely you are to get a job.
Right. Same thing is, there are places around campus, real close by University Station. Starbucks, Froyo, Gold Star Chili,
Grader's Ice Cream.
There's a donut
place moving in, opening up.
Oh.
I believe you can probably, I don't know if there are jobs available in University Station apartments.
Yeah.
But there's more moving in each week, each month, each semester.
Yeah, and that's a 5-minute walk from the center of campus.
So, and then we have a lot, just show up at Career Center, show up at job fairs. There's a lot of things happening all the time on campus.
Yeah. And I was going to chime in. If you did not receive work study, I know they keep a list of non-work study jobs and contacts on the career development website. So that might be a good resource for you.
Yeah, we do have a career development office that can help you as well. While I'm over here, Evan, I want you guys to take a look at Evan's socks here. Let me know if that's showing up there.
Yep.
If you notice, they're little umbrellas. I think they're sort of funky looking socks, but we've had so much rain here in Cincinnati, and we had a tornado pass over the campus today, and that disappeared. No damage as far as I know, but I thought it was very fitting that he had umbrellas on his socks. He's a bit.
Thank you for that, Henry. Now we'll get back to answering more of your questions.
Okay.
So our next question is from Kezia, and she asks, is the Parent Plus loan categorized as an internal Xavier loan?
The answer is yes. It is a federal loan, and so it's internal. Once you apply for a Parent Plus loan, then the financial aid office will know about that, and again, you want to make sure that you decide in advance if that's better. You could do it each semester, but it's going to be easier if you decide in advance if you need that amount of money, what amount of money you need for the fall and what amount for the spring, and borrow all at the same time. They'll disperse the first half and they'll disperse the second half later.
Would you happen to know how long it takes for the health insurance to get waived?
48 hours or less.
It's pretty fast.
Okay. And then is the cumulative amount that's on the Road to Xavier on the Money Matters tab / the eBill per semester or annual?
Everything in the Bursar's office is done per semester. So the charges that you will see on your account now and the bill that you will see on Wednesday is only for the fall semester. That's going to have a lot of charges, a lot of credits, like the financial aid office loans and grants, and it's going to have a large balance, a sizable balance, more than a parking fine or a library fine or a strep test. And you're going to see the same thing in the December bill for the spring semester. So we bill every single month, but the July 15th bill is the very first time you're going to see an official bill for the fall semester. December 15th is the first time you're going to see an official bill for the spring semester.
Okay. So that is all of our questions. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to type them in. So I guess, do you have anything else
Let me think
to
about
share
one
with
more
us?
thing.
Sure.
There's something that crossed my mind. That was about bills and 15th. I think that's about it. Oh, something to do with, oh, I know what it was.
Okay.
Here's what's really cool from my perspective anyway. Back a number of years ago, before we did electronic bills, we used to mail paper bills out. We don't mail paper bills. Students, when we did that, would say, I never got the bill. I never got the bill. So how do I know what to pay? The way I look at it then, and I look at it the same way today, is that if I don't get a bill for my car payment every month, and I'm supposed to, but I don't get it that particular month, or I don't get the bill from my mortgage company a particular month because it got lost, doesn't mean the payment isn't due. Bills, believe it or not, are a courtesy that companies send out. It's not a federal law, it's a courtesy. So just because you don't view your bill on the 15th of the month or at some point in time of the month before the due date, doesn't mean the balance isn't due or a payment isn't due. And here's the awesome part for me. I can tell if you have looked at your bill. I can tell the date, the time, and who did it. So it's going to be either the student or the parent. If you, the student, give your parent your username and password and therefore compromise your credentials and don't sign them up as an authorized user and allow them to sign in using their own credentials, then they're going to come across looking like the student as far as I'm concerned. And so it might look like the student looked at their bill each and every month when really it's the parent. So keep the credentials separate and just know that I can tell if you look at your bill or not. So look at the bill. I could have made this whole, how long have we been here? We've been here an hour and 11 minutes. Here's what it boils down to, and I could have had this done in 5 seconds back at 8 o'clock and 5 seconds after. We're going to publish a bill. You know what the due date is. Pay it on time. We're good. How's that?
That's very well said.
That's what it is.
Yep.
Pay your bills on time.
Absolutely. So we do have a few more questions that trickled in.
Okay.
So the student asks if they will see their fees again in the spring for technology, student activity, etc.
Yes.
That's only in the fall.
Yes, tuition and fees are by semester. So you will see tuition and fees each semester on the bill. Yes. The only thing that's not going to go from semester to semester, if you happen to come here for Manresa, which is an awesome program, it's a great program. I don't want to say awesome too many times because that doesn't make it awesome anymore. But Manresa is a great way to get integrated into the community. There is a charge, I think it's $190 again this year. It's the same as last year. And that you will see on your fall semester bill, but you won't see it on any subsequent bills after that because it's a one-time fee. Also keep in mind that if, depending upon what classes you sign up for, you might have a lab fee. So you might sign up for a chem class or a bio class, and along with that comes a lab fee that they'll charge. I don't know what it is, $20 or, no, some of them are $95. It depends on the class. So you might see those things as well on the bill.
All right, if we were to pay the semester bill, all of the semester bill except for the student loans portion, will there be a late fee charged until the loan portion is paid?
No, we know about the loan portion. If you've done everything that you need to do, if you have signed the master promissory note, you've done the entrance counseling, and you see on your bill that's going to be published in 2 days, the charges, and you see your financial aid, then you pay that balance in full on or before the due date, no late fee. Keep in mind though, I think on the eBill it's going to say you have a loan for $1,000, but that's going to only be $990. You want to make sure you take into account any discount that or any fee that the Department of Education withholds, so that you don't get the gross amount, you get the net amount. Some people don't know gross versus net. When I get paid, I get a gross amount, and then all the taxes are taken out and healthcare costs, and so I get into my checking account a net amount. Same thing with your loan. You're going to have a gross amount, and they're going to keep their fees, and you're going to end up with a net amount.
Okay. So how soon would an overage on the student's bill be sent back?
Okay, overages on student accounts, we refund, as I mentioned earlier, we refund every week, and we look at accounts on typically Tuesday, and we send the process to hire one on Wednesday. Since I said that August 21st is when the financial aid office is going to disperse money onto the account, we will be analyzing refunds the beginning of that week. So on the 26th, which is a Wednesday of August, we're going to be sending them information to hire one. They disperse it. As soon as they get the information and the money, they process the refunds. If you're in the hire one account, then that's going to go the same day. That's going to be money in the bank the same day. If you bank with a larger bank, PNC, US Bank, Fifth Third Bank, some of the larger banks, that money might take 1 to 2 days to get into your account. If you order a check, you selected to have a check, that's going to come to you in 5 to 7 to 10 days. So to answer your question in short, processed on the 26th, and the next few days after that is when you would get it electronically.
All right, next question is, can we avoid the Manresa costs for freshmen?
I don't think so. That's a little bit out of my area of expertise.
I would say no, because Manresa is a required program for students to participate in as an incoming freshman.
Right. From all accounts that I've heard, it is $190 well spent. They do some awesome things, incredible things. The people there who put this thing together, they work tremendously hard. I personally wouldn't recommend trying to avoid that fee. That would be worth it. That's a great investment. If it were my kids, I'd encourage them to do the same thing. Actually, at their schools, I encourage them to do those first startup things prior to the start of school.
So you talked a little bit ago about late fees and them being applied or not, whether those were the loans, if you paid everything but the loans not applied. In addition to that, it says the answer about the late fee not being applied also apply with the alternative loans as long as financial aid office is aware.
Yes, as long as the financial aid office knows about the alternative loan, they can put that onto your student account, even though the money isn't there yet, but we will take that into account. And that, let me put it this way, the financial aid doesn't necessarily help you, or whether it's an alternative loan or any kind of loan, it doesn't help you avoid late fees. What helps you avoid late fees is if you have a balance due and you pay it after the due date or after the late fee is assessed, after the 12th, 13th, or 14th, depending upon when the 14th falls. As I said, if it falls on a Monday holiday, then we're backing up the late fees to the previous Friday, and so that could be several days prior to the 14th. If you don't pay before we assess late fees, you're going to get a late fee. That doesn't really have anything to do with your loans. The only way it would have anything to do with your loans is if your loans exceeded your charges and nothing was due, then you wouldn't get any late fees. If your loans are here and you don't pay this either 1/4 of your payment because you're on the payment plan, or you don't pay it in full, then you're going to get a late fee. I might also add that if you sign up for the payment plan after the first payment, after August 1st, you say, I'm going to sign up for the payment plan, the process, the enrollment process will not only charge you the $50 enrollment fee as it should, but it will also charge you the first payment right then and there to get you caught up so that you're not behind already on your payment plan. These things in higher education, not unlike reality, if you don't stay on top of it financially, can turn into a snowball rolling downhill. If you start missing payments, then it becomes harder and harder. So you always want to stay on top of it. So I hope that clarifies your question. Loans that we know about, alternative loans that we know about, and you can always check with your financial aid office or call the financial aid office. They can verify whether or not your bank or your lender, Sally Mae, has been in touch with them already about alternative loans. As a matter of fact, if you go to the financial aid website, which I think is xavier.edu/finaid, actually, I think it's on our homepage. If you go to xavier.edu, I think on the right-hand side, there's a link that says financial aid, and then there's some smaller links underneath it. But if you click on financial aid, get to the website, you want to make your way to alternative loans. And there is information about how to apply for an alternative loan. And if you do it through that process, then Xavier will automatically know what you have coming. If you go to your personal credit union or your personal bank and you say, I want a loan for my student to go to Xavier University, they're going to do an unsecured loan, but typically they're going to secure it with a car or a second mortgage or something like that, and they're going to give you the check, and then you're going to have to send that check, negotiate it maybe even, or maybe they'll make it out to Xavier. If they make it out to Xavier, great, you can just send it in to Xavier, but if they make it out to you, you'll have to negotiate it through your checking account and then write us a check or go online and pay by e-payment. So the alternative loans Xavier can know about, but if you go to your own personal bank, that's just going to be a regular bank loan, and you'll have to ask the banker whether or not they communicate directly with Xavier. That would be key to know. That way the financial aid office will know about it.
Okay, so our last question is, does the amount showing on the Student Hub already have my student loan deducted? And I'm sure that's dependent on how much the student has completed before. But.
Right. Yes, I would say that if you go to the Hub and you look at your balance now and you know that you have financial aid because you have a financial aid award letter, I would think that you'd be able to take a look at your financial aid award letter balance and take a look at the balance that's on the Hub, and they should be relatively close for the fall semester. I don't know if you can do that now and type back in and tell me how close that is, but the balance on the Hub already takes into consideration financial aid that we know about. So that should help you out. Trying to think here, if you click on the link that says to look at transactions since your last eBill, I wonder if there is authorized or some sort of memoed financial aid there, and you'll be able to see the breakdown of all your charges and see your financial aid and see what the balance is that matches the front page of the e-payment site along with what that pre-statement is on that link. I don't know if I just confused the heck out of everybody, but hopefully not.
You're always confusing me, so.
Well, that's easy to do.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we have no more questions. So I guess that wraps it up for the evening.
That's a wrap.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Henry.
Thank you all for your attention, for being here. Really appreciate it. Feel free to email the Bursar's office at xubursar@xavier.edu. xubursar@xavier.edu. Liz and Claire answer those emails, and they do a great job. Feel free to call us at 513-745-3435. You can do that as well. We're Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. And I'm out of the office tomorrow.
Okay.
Be here the rest of the week.
Sounds good. So for those of you that attended tomorrow, we will send a follow-up email with all of the Bursar's office contact information,
good,
so you
thanks.
have that. And then also, in case you forget something that Henry talked about tonight that you really want to know tomorrow, we have recorded this session and we'll post it on the Road to Xavier tomorrow for you. And then lastly, we do have a Muskie chat coming up next Monday evening, and we will be talking about the Xavier bookstore and purchasing your books. So if you haven't registered for that, we certainly encourage you to join us. But other than that, as I said, we'll call that a wrap, and we hope you all have a great evening.
Thanks. Take care. See you soon.